Oke, baik. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat siang, Bapak Ibu sekalian yang telah berhadir pada breakout rooms ini. Perkenalkan saya Ahmad Mubarok. Saya selaku moderator pada sesi ini. Selamat datang di Sesanti 2021 Seminar Nasional Seminar Nasional Bahasa, Sastra, dan Seni pasca pandemi pada hari ini Rabu 27 Oktober 2021. Untuk mempersingkat waktu, saya akan membacakan dulu untuk jadwal presentasinya. Dalam satu sesi terdapat dalam satu ruang Zoom terdapat tiga sesi. Sesi pertama pada pukul 13 sampai dengan pukul 14. Sesi kedua pukul 14 sampai pukul 15. Sesi ketiga pukul 15 sampai dengan pukul 16. Baik. Untuk sesi pertama akan dibawa presenter yaitu dari Verinda Ayuniar Putri, Maidli Dwi Ayu Garaga, dan Ibu Nita Maya Valentin. Saya Ibu sekalian sudah melihat tata tertib dari sisi paralel. Bapak Ibu diharapkan melakukan presentasi selama 15 menit dan nanti di 5 menit sebelum mengakhiri akan saya berikan tanda di ruang chatnya. Juga nanti di 2 menit mendekati akhir saya akan berikan tanda lagi. Seperti itu Bapak Ibu. Untuk sesi tanya jawab akan dilaksanakan ketika semua presenter sudah melakukan presentasi di sesi ini. Terima kasih. Baik, untuk mempersingkat waktu, kita akan mulai presentasi kita dari Farida Ayuniar Putri. Apakah sudah ada? Oke, jika tidak ada, kita akan langsung masuk ke presenter kedua, Ibu Maidli Dwi Ayu Garaga. Untuk itu, Ibu Maidli dipersilahkan melakukan presentasinya.
Good afternoon. I would like to say thank you for coming in my presentation. My name is Maidli Dwi Ayu Garaga. In this opportunity, I would like to present my article entitled Analysis of Taboo and Swear Words in Tattoo Movie. Language is a communication tool in the form of sound symbol and system generated by words as well as a collection of words. The language plays a crucial role in humans' life as a tool to communicate. Not only it is used as a connecting lines, but also it contains meanings. In order to have more immense understanding about language, one must first understand about linguistics. Linguistics is understood as a system of chance or changeable, a voice that allows for all humans to use it is in providing a culture or others who have learned the system of the culture to communicate and interact by Holmes, 1994. Linguistics in terms of the study can be divided into types, namely microlinguistic and macrolinguistic. Microlinguistic is understood as linguistic with a narrow study, and macrolinguistics is broad. The nature of the study is external. Microlinguistics is a branch of linguistics that concentrates its studies on the content of internal system of language. Therefore, macrolinguistic studies are broad and external. Macrolinguistic examines language activities in other fields such as economic and history. In this research, researcher will use one branch of theory from macrolinguistics, namely sociolinguistics. Sociolinguistics can be explained as an objective and scientific study of people in society, which involve individuals, institutions, and social process that exist in society. And in social linguistics, it is known as language variation. Schwarzschild explained that standard and non-standard are not a language, but they are a variety of English language. People use English language depend on standard and non-standard language in communication. There are many kinds of non-standard language and cultural identities that built by language. One of non-standard and cultural identities language is taboo words. Taboo words are usually related to swear words. People who use swear words in front of public will disturb the other who hear them. In this case, swear words have similarity with taboo words. Swear words are made a declaration, statement, affirmation, and promise or undertaking. The usage of taboo and swear words also can be found in movies. The content of the movie, such as the way the characters speak, get dressed, act, and communicate to each other, usually reflects the real life of the society in which a movie is based on. One of the movies which also contains the taboo words and swear words is Tattoo movie. Why Tattoo movie? Because during the movie there are a lot of taboo and swear words which are used by many characters in conversation that are forbidden. This instance, the researcher is interested to analyze this movie because it has a lot of taboo and swear words, and this movie also consists of factor that causes the people in movie that use taboo and swear words. Moreover, this movie is different from the other movies because the main character in this movie is played by a teddy bear, which describes a cute and friendly character. But in this movie, it describes as an adult man who speaks politely. What the benefit about this research? This research is imperative to learn because taboo and swear words cannot separate from our lives in expressing our emotions because sometimes we say them without knowing the meaning or these taboo and swear words. Research questions. What are types of taboo words and swear words found in tattoo movie? And second, what are the reason of characters in tattoo movie to use the taboo words and swear words? Objective of the study. It aims at identifying the types of taboo found in tattoo movie. These taboo and swear words provide different meanings based on the context in the dialogues and conversations found in the movie. The theory by Swen 1995 will be employed to answer the first research question. And second, to find out the reason for using taboo and swear words spoken by the characters in tattoo. The theory by Rothwell 1973 will be used to describe the reasons why the characters utter those words. According 1972. Sociolinguistics is the study of the interaction between two aspects of human behavior, the use of language and the organization categories of taboo words based on Michael Swan, 1995. There are lavatory, part of the body, religion, and sexual activity. Lavatory is an expression that refers to the elimination of body wash and part of the body. Same with the lavatory and religion, a number of words related to the Christian religion, for example, the name of Christ and God. Some people consider these words to be holy. These people prefer to use such word only in a formal and respectful context, and they may be upset or shocked by their careless use. This is a of category of taboo words. And then sexual activity, other terms relating to sexual intercourse and associated part of the body. For example, fuck and balls. 30 or 40 years ago, some of words could not have been written or broadcast. Swear words, taboo. Taboo words have a close relationship to swear words because swear words is considered indecent and inappropriate in polite context. It exists in most, though not at all, language and culture when linguistic taboo arise from social taboo. And swear word is a part of taboo words because every person who use juror words almost use taboo words inside. And taboo words and swear words have two types. There are strong swear words and weak swear words. In strong swear words, there are exclamation of annoyance, exclamation of surprise, exclamation of unconcern, insult, and insulting to go away. Therefore, weak swear words, there are exclamation of annoyance, exclamation of surprise, and emphasize emotion. This is type of swear words, strong swear words, and these weak swear words. And the reason of using swear words, they are to create attention and to discredit someone or something, to provoke and to create interpersonal identification. Research method, researcher use qualitative research instrument, researcher use her own critical assessment to analyze data and answer the research questions. The research does the observation, collection, analysis, and identification and classification the data directly that occur using her own thought and views supported by the theories. Data and data source consists of movie script. Research consists of a movie script from the TED to movie and data collection. The researcher watching and read the movie script of TED to movie several times as much as the researcher needs. Make notes and determining the types of taboo swear words in the conversation. Data analysis, data reduction, data display, conclusion conclusion drawing, triangulation data, triangulation. This is finding of taboo. Okay, this is conversation, an example of lavatory and part of the body. And this is religion and part of the body. And then this is types of swear words. Strong swear words, exclamation of annoyance, and exclamation of surprise. Yeah, this is an example of conversation of religion and sexual activity and types of swear words. This is an example. Exclamation of annoyance, of strong swear words, and exclamation of surprise. And this is insult and intensifying use emphasis and emotion. And surprise questions by strong swear words and violence refusal and reject on. And this an example of weak swear words, exclamation of annoyance, and exclamation of surprise. And this is an example conversation of reason of swear words to create attention and to discredit someone or something. Next, to provoke. And last, to create interpersonal identification. Conclusion, religion was the most types of taboo words that used by main characters, and lavatory was the least of types of taboo that found in the movie. Because in America, swearing in name of God is something they usually do. Strong swear words intensifying use to emphasize an emotion is the most frequently found in the movie. And the reason to discredit someone or something or swear words use are they frequently used by the characters in the movie. Suggestion for the further researcher who do not have any background knowledge about sociolinguistic study, this research will provide the readers with an additional understanding of language varieties found in the movie. And then for the further researchers, the subject of this research is a film, which means one-way communication where the readers can only interpret the meaning personally. As a result, the researcher found the real purpose of swearing is to express someone's emotional state. The suggestion for the next researcher who are interested in the same topic may focus on society's real situations by using a case study or phenomenology. That's all from me. Thank you.
Oke, terima kasih untuk presenter pertama kita. Baik. Oke, baik. Sepertinya untuk sesi ini kita hanya ada satu presenter. Ya, karena itu silahkan mungkin ada tanggapan dari peserta yang berhadir. Ada komentar dari Ibu Fatima, Bu Maya, Bu Ririn, Pak Aris.
Oke, maybe saya.
Oh iya,
Pak
silakan
Mubarok.
Pak Aris. Silakan.
Oke, siapa nama presenternya, lupa tadi saya.
Medley.
Medi ya. Oh ya, Medi. It's nice to meet you. Ya, I have what is it? two questions for your research. Yeah. My first questions. Yeah. What makes interesting for us to watch TED 2 movie? Is it clear about my questions?
Can you
Yeah.
repeat?
Okay. What makes us, yeah, feel interesting to watch TED 2 movie? Yeah. And second one, what the impacts of this research, yeah, to the readers of your research?
Okay, thank you. And I will answer in bahasa.
No problem.
Ya, dampaknya untuk impact untuk kita mempelajari Tabo and Sandwords in Tattoo Movie ini, ya kita bisa tahu apa aja perkataan sehari-hari kita tentang tabu and swear words yang kadang kita tidak tahu apakah itu bisa diterima banyak orang di keliling kita, karena kadang kita mengucapkan sesuatu itu tetapi kadang tidak tahu artinya. Jadi dengan penelitian ini bisa mendorong memberikan dampak bahwa tidak semua perkataan yang tabu and swear words itu bisa dapat diterima banyak orang karena bisa menyakiti hati seseorang seperti itu.
Okay, thank you for your explanations.
Thank you.
Oke, terima kasih Bapak Aris Utomo. Selanjutnya, apakah ada? Oke, karena sepertinya tidak ada, mungkin dari saya ingin memberikan sedikit pertanyaan. Saya lihat tadi ada TED 2 ya. Kenapa jadi tidak TED 1?
Ya kalau jawaban simpelnya karena ketika saya melihat dari TED 1 sama TED 2,
Iya.
TED 2 itu yang lebih banyak menggunakan kata tabu dan swear words seperti itu. Karena dari perkataan itu ini filmnya 18 up.
Oke.
Jadi perkataannya itu lebih banyak di TED 2 karena permasalahan hidupnya si Ted ini lebih banyak di situ dan perkataannya itu lebih dominan yang digunakan oleh si Ted-nya ini sendiri seperti itu.
Oke. Oke, baik. Terima kasih presenter satu dan satu-satunya untuk sesi ini. Mungkin apakah tidak ada lagi? Sepertinya tidak ada lagi tanggapan dari presenter yang lain. Untuk sesi ini kita akhiri. Kita akan bertemu lagi di sesi kedua selanjutnya nanti pada pukul 14.00 waktu Indonesia Tengah. Saya ucapkan terima kasih. Oke, baik. Selamat siang. Mohon maaf saya ulang lagi karena suaranya tadi tidak terdengar. Kita akan masuki sesi kedua di ruang paralel pertama. Untuk itu pematerinya yaitu dari Ibu Berliana Rahmawati, dari Ibu Atikah Elvanur Rahmah, dan Ibu Haryanti Budi Utami. Untuk Ibu Berliana Rahmawati, apakah ada di ruang Zoom ini? Ibu Haryanti Budi Utami, apakah ada? Oke. Apakah ada? Oke. Baik, jika tidak ada, maka untuk sesi ketiga, pematerinya akan kita padatkan di sesi kedua ini. Untuk itu Bapak Denny Ilham, apakah
Halo,
iya ya?
misi.
Halo,
Halo,
ya gimana?
saya di urutan kelima, sesi kedua, setelah Bu Berliana.
Oh iya ya, oke. Oke. Iya, Ibu Atikah ya?
Ya,
Oke. Baik, kita akan majukan yang di sesi ketiga. Kita padatkan di sesi kedua. Untuk ini dari Andi Tenri, Ribi Farhana, apakah ada? Iya baik. Selanjutnya Denny Ilham Pratama. Untuk urutannya, apakah Atikah duluan, Ibu Atikah?
ya.
Oke baik. Silakan kepada Ibu Atikah untuk memulai presentasinya selama 15 menit. Untuk pertanyaannya nanti setelah semua presenter melakukan presentasi. Silahkan Ibu Atika.
Baik. Apakah sudah terlihat? Halo?
Sudah terlihat.
Oke. Baiklah. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Shalom, Om Swastiastu, Namo Buddhaya, Salam Kebajikan, and good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Atika Alfanur Rahmah, and I am presenting my article entitled Critical Discourse Analysis on the COVID-19 topic at the 2020 USA Final Presidential Debate. Now, in the 2020, the United States held rounds of presidential debates, and as the debates were held in the unprecedented time as in the pandemic, one of the topics discussed and most anticipated by the American citizens is about the COVID-19, especially because at the time of the debate, the United States was the country with the highest COVID-19 cases and deaths. Therefore, they really look forward to the topic and to the answers to the topic from the presidential candidates. The presidential candidates in the 2020 United States presidential election itself is Joe Biden and Donald Trump. At the time of the debate, Donald Trump was the president of the United States, so he has to defend his presidency during the pandemic, while Joe Biden, as his opponent, has to attest that Donald Trump is no longer fit to be the next president. Then, therefore, the presidential candidates has a contrasting opinions in their COVID-19 discourse, and it even became one of the highlighted moments in the debate. Therefore, the objective of this article is describing the effect of the contrasting COVID-19 discourse by the presidential candidates on the socio-cultural practice. This research employs the qualitative descriptive research method and the critical discourse analysis approach, specifically the three-dimensional critical discourse analysis, a model introduced by Raymond Fairclough, which splits the discourse into three, which is the text, the discursive practice, and the cultural practices. Respectively, each dimension analyzes the elements within it. The text analysis examines the microelements, such as the linguistic properties, to discover the underlying ideologies in the discourse. The discursive practice investigates the meso elements, such as the producers, distributors, and consumers, to reveal how this aspect affect the interpretation of the discourse. And last one, the last dimension, the sociocultural practice, analyzes the macro element or the sociocultural to uncover the effect discourse has on the society on various levels. The result of this research is, first, we have text analysis, in which we analyze the Donald Trump's discourse. So as you can see in the datum 1 and in datum 2, both data, Donald Trump starts his argument with acknowledgement of the COVID-19 in the United States. However, he ends his argument with accomplishment gotten from the initial parts of it. For example, in datum 1, where he said that there is a spike, it's now gone. There is a spike, it's now gone. It is repeated over and over again. In datum 2, he said that we have a problem, but ended his argument with, but I have been congratulated by the other leaders countries on what we've been able to do. So there is the theme as in a discernible or noticeable pattern in his way of arranging his argument. Donald Trump used this recurring pattern to establish the notion, the idea that his handling of COVID-19 situation as the current president at the time is really well. In datum 3, what we focus on is the wording that he used, which is the way down and much lower. The way he worded his argument, Donald Trump used way down and much lower, which indicates the same thing, to put emphasis and instill the idea that COVID-19 in the United States is in a better situation compared to other countries. In datum 4, we focus in datum 4 to datum 7, we focus on the referring expression in his approach of reassuring the public. So from datum 4 to 7, the focus is we. So in datum 4, Donald Trump used we. The referring we that he used is to aims to give a more unified feelings when he reassures the public or the American citizens. While in datum 5, he uses the referring expression I and you to be more personal and intimate when he said that I can tell you from my own experience that I am better now. So it is to establish a more intimate and closer feeling to it when he reassures the public. In datum 6, once again, he uses you, but in this case, he uses you to slightly separate himself when he states his achievement. For example, he said, you refer to the American people, but we refers to himself and the American government. While in the last datum, in the seventh datum, he uses the referring expression I to give more credibility to his statement, where he said that the COVID-19 is going away from the United States. So from datum 4 to datum 7, he establishes the idea that the COVID-19 situation in the United States is handled and going away soon. Now, from the analysis above, it can be concluded that Donald Trump presented COVID-19 to a more optimistic view in his discourse. Throughout his discourse, he emphasized and instilled the idea that struggles caused by COVID-19 was handled and COVID-19 would soon be gone from the United States. Therefore, the American citizens should choose him to be the next president. Now, we analyze the discourse by Joe Biden. So in datum 1 to datum 7, from datum 1 to datum 3, Joe Biden used a repetition of the noun death, the noun death and the adjective death in datum 1, datum 2, and datum 3. And in datum 4, he uses very low rate words to describe the situation in the Europe and very high rate situation in the United States. The wording and the repetition he used in this data are influenced by his aims to focus on the severity of the COVID-19 situation in the United States. In the datum 5, he uses the referring expression we when he refers to the American citizens in his attempt to reassure them. We, in this case, is used to give more unified feeling, 1, and 2, to encourage the American citizens to join the fight against COVID-19, where he said that if we just wore this mask, we can save 100,000 lives. In data 6, he uses the referring expression I to be more intimate in his feeling, to be more personal. And the second one is to put himself in charge of action, where he said that what I would do, I would make. So he put himself in charge of action. And in the term 7, it is also the case where he said that I will take care of this, I will end this. However, both in the term 6 and 7, he also uses we and folks referring expression to be more close and to be more down to earth, I would say, to the American citizens. Joe Biden, in his attempt to reassure the public, Joe Biden focuses on laying out his plan as the future president of the United States and propose changes to be made to the current handling of the COVID-19 situation in the United States. While in the term 8 to the term 10, Joe Biden repeatedly used the referring expression. There are repetition of non-vice president used as referring expression. In the term 8, there is President of the United States of America. In the term 9, there is the President. In the term 10, there is this President. Here, the repetitive referring expression that address the same person, Donald Trump, are used by Joe Biden to separate and denunciate the current president and to put blame on his disappointing handling of the COVID-19 situation in the United States. From the analysis above, it can be concluded that Joe Biden presented COVID-19 for a more pessimistic view in his discourse. He endlessly stresses the severity of the COVID-19 situation in the United States. Furthermore, his arguments that express his dissatisfaction of the current handling of the COVID-19 handling don't to encourage the American citizens to vote for him. In the discursive practice analysis, as the producers of the discourse, Donald Trump and Joe Biden fulfills all three positions. They are the animators because they produce the sound. They are the authors because they arrange the utterances. And they are also the principals because they are represented by the words they utter. Coupled with the fact coupled with their role as the representative of the Republican and Democratic Party, the stances they took in depicting the COVID-19 discourse not only represent their personal view, but also the political view. Donald Trump has to defend his presidency and his party's control over the court by establishing the notion that COVID-19 in the United States is going away soon and it is in good condition. While Joe Biden has to do the opposite to establish his position as the opponent of Donald Trump. The discourse produced in this event can ultimately be seen as a way to promote the candidacy of the presidential candidates to the American citizens. Therefore, the COVID-19 discourse produced in this debate that's supposed to lay out the plans to fight against COVID-19 in the next 4 years, seep into the promotional discourse aimed towards the American futures for them. In the sociocultural practice analysis, it is separated into three levels. The first one is situational level, in which the discourse are analyzed in the immediate situation where it took place. The institutional level, it is almost the same with the discursive practice, where we analyze the institution or organization involved in the making of the discourse and how it affects the interpretation of it, and societal correlates to the social system, such as ideology, politics, education, and cultural, in order to know what is the effect of the discourse has on the society. The first one, the situational level. The presidential debate is already an established event in the presidential election of the United States. And throughout this event, the candidates can lay out their future plans and convince the Americans to vote for them. And the event is also available for all of the Americans, unlike rally where people are chosen and other campaign method. Therefore, the final debate is expected to answer the important topics such as the handling of the COVID-19 in the next 4 years, and expected to give the presidential candidates a momentum days before the election day. The institutional level, the institution or the individuals involved in the making of the discourse is Donald Trump and Joe Biden. And as we have mentioned before, Donald Trump is the president at the time, so he has to defend his presidency by pointing out, by depicting COVID-19 is in a better situation, is in a good condition in his discourse. But Joe Biden has to attest that Donald Trump's handling of the COVID-19 is unsatisfactory. The difference in depiction of COVID-19 in their discourse could be inferred as a way to promote their candidacy, to show different views, and to influence the American citizens to vote for them. In the societal level, the affected society by the discourse are the American citizens as the voters of the presidential election. Donald Trump received public outcry over his dismissal and optimism on the COVID-19 topic that has impacted the United States greatly. Journalists and correspondents said that Donald Trump fails to address the issue and his handling of COVID-19 is inexcusable. Some criticism even extends to the White House because they are seen as unwilling to work with institutions such as CDC in COVID-19 prevention, while Joe Biden is praised for his pessimism on the topic. While a journalist even states that Joe Biden's best momentum happened when he admonished Donald Trump for his handling. However, from the perspective of the American citizens, both discourses are still very unsatisfactory and underwhelming as in the COVID-19 discourses because both presidential candidates failed to provide elaboration and details on their plans to fight against COVID-19 the next 4 years. Therefore, rather than helping the American citizens finalize their voting decision on who they're going to choose, these discourses, this COVID-19 discourse produced in the debate might create and instill indecisiveness in the American citizens' mind about their voting decision. The conclusion is that the final presidential debate was significant even for both Donald Trump and Joe Biden. It is seen as the last chance to deliver their plans and appeal to the American citizens. Donald Trump must defend his presidency, so therefore, the discourse produced by Donald Trump gives an optimistic view on COVID-19 topic. On the other hand, Joe Biden, as his opponent, has to attest that Donald Trump is failing his presidency. And therefore, his discourse gives a pessimistic view about the response and handling of the COVID-19 situation in the United States. The result of their different depictions of COVID-19 in the United States are Donald Trump receiving dismissal and disapproval from the public and Joe Biden's receiving praises. However, both candidates were criticized for both their lack of elaboration and details on their plans to fight against COVID-19. Therefore, the discourse are unable to give conclusiveness to the American citizens' mind about their voting decision. That is all, everybody. Thank you.
Baik, terima kasih Ibu Atika sudah melakukan presentasinya. Selanjutnya presenter kedua. Oke, untuk presenter kedua dipersilakan kepada Bapak Denny Ilham Pratama. Saya ingatkan kembali untuk waktu presentasinya 15 menit Bapak Denny. Apakah suara saya terdengar?
Baik, terdengar Pak.
Oke, silakan Bapak Denny.
Ya, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I would like to start my presentation. Swear words uttered by Deadpool in Deadpool 2 movie. Background of study, sociolinguistic. Sociolinguistic is the study of everyday human life, how language works both in casual conversation and in the media, in the presence of social norms, policies, and laws that govern language. And language generally functions as a means of communication in social life. The language also has another function, namely as a tool for expression. Some words are used to express attitude and feelings only and do not convey specific information, such as swear words or various exclamation. Swear words, words that express feelings and emotion. In Deadpool 2 movie, the researcher chose this movie to be analyzed because it depicted a different perspective concept of superhero, where Deadpool is described as an unethical superhero. Many of Deadpool utterances are offensive in the movie, and it indicates that Deadpool used swear words when speaking. And research question. First, what are the types of swear words uttered by Deadpool in Deadpool 2 movie? And what are the function of the swear words uttered by Deadpool in Deadpool 2 movie? Purpose of study, to describe the types of swear words uttered by Deadpool in Deadpool 2 movie, and to identify the function of the swear words uttered by Deadpool in Deadpool 2 movie. Research scope and limitation. Deadpool character in the movie, so the other character will not be analyzed. And Jai's theory about the types of swear words and the function of the swear words. Theoretical framework. Language is needed to communicate in society, whereas society itself affects the use of language by its speakers. Sociolinguistic deals with the investigation of the relationship between language and society to better understand the structure of language and how language function in communication. Taboo words and swear words have uniqueness that difficult to distinguish. Some researchers use the term of taboo refer to swear words as well. Jay used the term dirty words, taboo words, offensive speech, swearing, and emotional speech to represent the curse. Types of swear words: cursing, profanity, blasphemy, obscenity, vulgarity, epithets, insult and slurs, scatology. Function of swear words: anger of frustration, descriptive evaluative, joking, surprise, sarcastic irony. Research method: descriptive qualitative research, data, words of praise uttered by Deadpool which contain swear words, research instrument, the researcher and data sheet, data source, the Deadpool 2 movie and its script. Data collection. First step, watch Deadpool 2 movie and then read the movie script of Deadpool 2. Mark Deadpool's utterance that contains swear words. Put the marked utterance into data sheet. Data analysis technique. First, data reduction, data display, and conclusion drawing or verifying. Finding types of swear words: cursing, colossus, fuck, Deadpool, wow, in your hell, swear mouth. The word hell above is categorized into cursing type, but the word hell is not to curse Colossus. Deadpool used the word hell as a joking to cheer up his X-Force team. Profanity. Colossus, take your mask off. Wait, we must talk. You need fresh. Deadpool, you're wasting your time. Sign Jesus. I'm not X-Men material. The word Jesus, which is pronounced by Deadpool, is a kind of profanity word because it denotes disrespect for God. However, Deadpool had no intention of demeaning God. He was said to be profane because he behaved outside the custom religious belief. Obscenity. Deadpool, don't you fucking dare. He is just a kid. Cable, TikTok matters running. The word fucking refers to the act of sexual intercourse in a literal sense. Therefore, Deadpool word was considered offensive and unacceptable in polite situation because it lacks morality. Vulgarity. Deadpool, yes, here we go. Bring it in. Come on. Pelvis to pelvis. Let's go. Tip to tip. There we go. The kids call this docking. Is there a knife in my dick? Cable, there's a knife in your dick? Yes. The word dick, which can be categorized as vulgarity type. Dick is a vulgar term that refers to the human male genital organ. In this case, Deadpool was hugging Cable because he felt touched. Then epithets, Colossus. Wait, whoever they are, We track them down and bring them to justice. Deadpool, it was me. I'm the asshole who got away. I killed every last one of them, except me. Couldn't kill me. We were gonna start a family. We were gonna be a family. The word asshole, which can be categorized in epithet type because it refers to someone. The word the word asshole refers to a private part of the body, which means the anus. Insult and slurs. Deadpool, zip it. Black widow. I'm flowing. The first order of business is to get me in front of Cable so I can pull all the fucking blood out of his body and fashion his bones into holiday jewelry. Then I'm gonna take his skin and stretch it out over a homemade mating drum. He is standing right behind you. Is not he? The word black in literal meaning refers to the color name. However, in the dialogue above, the word black refers to a person's skin color, so it was considered as an insult type. Here, the word black was used by Deadpool to attack someone physically. Scatology. Russell, stay back. Go home, wait. Deadpool, let's talk. It doesn't have to go this way. That piece of shit. He deserved to die for what he did to you. He hurt you badly. Makes you want to hurt others. But if you kill him, he wins. You become everything he says you are. But worse, you are just a kid. You don't want to hurt anyone. The word shit means human defecation, so it referred to the type of scatology. This word was impolite to be as a daily language because it was private activity, which was very nasty to talk about. Here, the word shit was used by Deadpool to describe someone. Function of swear words. Anger and frustration. Deadpool, just once. I'm gonna find a planet of people that are worse than me at everything. A whole bunch of functional idiots. I'm gonna go there. And I'm gonna be their Superman. Whistle? Is not that Canada? Deadpool? Your shut your goddamn trust mode. Here, the swear word served to convey Deadpool's anger because he felt his friends were mocking him as an idiot. Descriptive evaluative. Deadpool, there they are. Look at this George's son of bitches. Oh yeah, that's right, Bedlam. The word son of bitch can be categorized into the type epithets for use as a nickname that was not intended to hurt or insult. So that the swear word here serve to provide a descriptive evaluative to the X-Force member. Joking. Deadpool, pockets, what's your poison? A little choky can maintain an erection without wearing shoes online. I've never experienced that last one. Talk to me, goose. No finder? I was going to say soul. I want to feel my soul. I want to belong to something like you. Pool. Deadpool uttered the word erection, which served to joke. The word erection was included in the vulgar type because it refers to sexual behavior. Deadpool uttered the word erection because he wanted to entertain the offender. Surprise. Vanessa? No, dig for brains. My birth control device. Deadpool? What you mean that you're? Vanessa? Baby factory. Open for business. Deadpool? Oh my god. Oh my god. I want a boy or a little girl. Definitely one or the other. Oh, and I want our kid to have only one name, like Cheer or Todd. Deadpool uttered the word my god because he was so shocked. His wife, Vanessa, gave Deadpool a gift in the form of a birth control device. He said the word oh my god repeatedly while hugging his wife. It could be concluded that Deadpool's words in that dialogue served to convey his very surprising feeling. sarcastic irony, Deadpool, oh great, orderly, there they are, those freaks, Deadpool, a bunch of armed pedophiles in nursing shoes. Can I have one of those guns? Cable, no, that fines. Here, Deadpool used the word pedophile to call the orphanage wards where mountain children were kept. Deadpool sarcastically said that they were pedophiles who were nursing shoes to imply that Deadpool was more likely to use in a situation. And discussion, based on the finding, the description of the 12 existing data, it was found that the cursing type serves to convey Deadpool anger to his listener and also as a joking material. The profanity types was used to convey sarcastic irony and also as a form of surprise expression. Deadpool used the obscenity type when he was angry and also when he jokes. Vulgarity was used to convey feelings of anger or frustration to the listener. Deadpool used epithets and scatology to describe something or someone. Then he used insult or slurs to insult his listener directly. Conclusion. From this research, it can be concluded that the swear word was not only used by someone from the lower class. Someone in the superhero class also used swear words to convey his feeling. Suggestion. In the Deadpool 2 movie, there are many swear words that have not been classified and their function have not been determined. Because in this study, the researcher limited the research to one character only, namely Deadpool. Therefore, the readers who want to do similar research can analyze the use of swear words by other characters in Deadpool 2 movie. In addition, in this study, the researcher only focused on finding the types and function of swear words. The next researcher can add the meaning of the word which become a swear word in the next research. Also, the next researcher can find out the relation between language gender to use of swear words in the movie. Thank you.
Baik, terima kasih untuk Denny Ilham Pratama dalam presentasinya. Selanjutnya, presenter ketiga sesi ini yaitu Ibu Andi Tenri yang akan dilaksanakan secara luring. Baik, Ibu Tenri, apakah sudah siap?
Tes.
Oke, terdengar suaranya baik. Silakan Ibu Tenri 15 menit untuk presentasi dan pertanyaan dan pemberian pertanyaan dari penonton nanti akan dilaksanakan setelah presentasi ketiga dari Ibu Tenri. Dipersilahkan Ibu Tenri.
Share screen, Pak. Oke. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Perkenalkan, nama saya Andi Tenri Bifarhana. Di sini saya akan mempresentasikan judul penelitian saya yaitu deviasi dan foregrounding dalam cuitan Twitter @kerskit, kajian stilistika. Penelitian ini dilatar belakangi oleh sebuah fenomena bahasa gaul di kalangan remaja yang dimuat dalam cuitan pengguna Twitter @kerskit. Cuitan ini terbentuk dari ide dan pikiran sendiri sehingga memiliki keunikan dan kekhasan yang berbeda dari pengguna Twitter lain. Ketidakterbatasan dan keamatbebasan dalam cuitan Kerskit menghasilkan penyimpangan dalam tatanan bahasa yang digunakan. Penyimpangan yang digunakan berhasil menarik perhatian pembaca sehingga memunculkan sebuah foregrounding atau repetisi. Penelitian ini dilandasi oleh penelitian terdahulu yang dilakukan oleh Susanto tahun 2017 dengan judul penelitiannya yaitu Deviasi dan foregrounding dalam kumpulan puisi Tidak Ada New York hari ini karya Aan Mansur, dan 99 untuk Tuhanku karya Emma Ainun Najib. Persamaan dari penelitian ini dengan penelitian terdahulu terletak pada subkajian teorinya yang menggunakan deviasi dan foregrounding. Sedangkan perbedaannya terletak pada objek penelitian. Jika penelitian terdahulu menggunakan puisi dan cerpen sebagai objek penelitiannya, penelitian ini menggunakan cuitan Edgar Skid di Twitter sebagai objek penelitian. Kemudian teori yang digunakan yaitu teori oleh Geoffrey and Leach mengenai teori deviasi. Beliau mengemukakan 9 bentuk deviasi yang yaitu leksikal, morfologi, fonologis, semantik, sintaksis, dialek, register, historis, dan grafologis. Sedangkan untuk foregrounding yang dikemukakan oleh Nurgiantoro dapat dipahami sebagai mengedepankan, mementingkan, atau mengaktualkan kata. Kemudian fungsi bahasa. Jadi fungsi bahasa ini digunakan untuk fungsi bahasa ini digunakan sebagai pengembangan dari fungsi deviasi dan foregrounding untuk mendapatkan hasil analisis yang diinginkan. Fungsi bahasa ini dikemukakan oleh Jacobson berupa fungsi emotif, fungsi konatif, fungsi patik, fungsi referensial, dan fungsi puitis. Kemudian metode penelitian yang digunakan, yang pertama ada jenis penelitian. Penelitian ini merupakan pendekatan penelitian kualitatif dengan pemaparan secara deskriptif. Dengan objeknya berupa cuitan Twitter Edgar Skid. Sumber datanya berupa kata, frasa, dan kalimat. Jenis penelitian ini merupakan kepustakaan atau library research. Teknik pengumpulan data yang dilakukan yaitu metode simak dan metode catat. Dalam hal ini penelitian diperoleh dengan cara mengamati cuitan Edgar Skid yang mengandung deviasi dan foregrounding. Kemudian mencatatnya ke dalam instrumen yaitu kartu data agar hasil penelitian dapat terstruktur dan relevan dengan teori yang digunakan. Kemudian teknik analisis data dilakukan 2 metode yaitu metode Agih dan metode Padan. Metode Agih ini dilakukan dengan teknik dasar bagi unsur langsung dengan membagi unsur-unsurnya. Kemudian dilakukan dengan teknik lanjutan, teknik sisip, teknik lesap, dan teknik balik. Kemudian untuk metode Padan digunakan teknik dasar pilah unsur penentu atau PUP, kemudian dilanjutkan dengan teknik lanjutan hubung banding menyamakan atau HBS. Hubung banding menyamakan ini bertujuan untuk mencari kesamaan antara 2 hal yang sedang dibandingkan. Kemudian hasil penelitian, dari hasil penelitian ditemukan bahwa bentuk dan fungsi deviasi, bentuk-bentuknya ada deviasi fonologis yang ditemukan, deviasi morfologis, deviasi sintaksis, deviasi semantik, dan deviasi grafologis. Kemudian untuk fungsi deviasi yaitu fungsi emotif, fungsi konatif, fungsi patik, fungsi referensial, dan fungsi puitis. Sedangkan untuk bentuk dan fungsi foregrounding ditemukan bentuknya foregrounding bahasa dan foregrounding tanda baca. Sedangkan untuk fungsi foregrounding yaitu fungsi emotif dan fungsi patik. Dari keseluruhan data, data yang dominan terletak pada deviasi fonologis, deviasi morfologis, fungsi emotif, fungsi patik, foregrounding bahasa, foregrounding tanda baca, seperti itu. Jadi di pembahasan saya akan menerangkan mengenai hal atau data-data yang dominan. Yang pertama, deviasi fonologis. Mam enak apa di Bandung? Deviasi fonologis tampak pada kata mam. Kata mam tidak ada di dalam kamus bahasa Indonesia. Kata mam yang ada di dalam kamus bahasa Indonesia merujuk pada kata mama atau ibu, sedangkan mam untuk kata makan tidak ada. Jadi hal inilah yang dikatakan sebagai deviasi fonologis karena salah satu fonemnya hilang dan digantikan dengan huruf M. Penulis dalam hal ini menyederhanakan kata-kata yang ditulisnya sehingga membentuk bunyi-bunyi fonem baru atau penghilangan bunyi fonem. Seperti itu. Kemudian deviasi morfologis. Deviasi morfologis terletak pada kata G morning. G morning ini merupakan sebuah frasa yang berasal dari good morning. Namun di sini penulisannya digabung menjadi satu menjadi G morning. G ini berasal dari bahasa Inggris yang berarti good atau good morning, selamat pagi. Hal ini juga merupakan sebuah abreviasi atau pengganti kata atau frasa. Kata ini juga merupakan kata gaul dalam bahasa Inggris. Kemudian fungsi emotif. Anjing, dah mau lebaran tapi amalan selama Ramadan belum ada, gimana ya? Bisa diulang nggak? Fungsi emotif merupakan fungsi yang mengungkapkan perasaan atau emosinya, baik berupa rayuan dan umpatan. Di sini kata anjing yang berada di awal merupakan sebuah umpatan, karena dalam konteksnya penulis tidak dapat memenuhi amalan-amalannya di bulan Ramadan, sehingga ia merasa marah dan kecewa pada dirinya sendiri sehingga mengeluarkan kata-kata kotor atau mengumpat, yaitu pada kata anjing. Kemudian fungsi fatik. Fungsi fatik digunakan untuk saling menyapa melalui pertanyaan-pertanyaan sebagai kontak antara penulis dan pembaca dalam proses komunikasi. Fungsi fatik tampak pada penggunaan kalimat tanya. Di situ mendung nggak? Penggunaan tanda baca tanya juga menjadi indikator cuitan ini dikatakan memiliki fungsi fatik. Fungsi fatik juga berarti pertanyaan basa-basi yang mengharapkan balasan dari para pembacanya. Kemudian foregrounding bahasa. Baru aja mam, tiba-tiba ada yang nyetel lagu Kode Line. Gak jadi mam, aku langsung megang jantung. Hehe, sakit banget tapi gak apa-apa. Nature is healing. Foregrounding bahasa tampak pada kata mam yang berulang lebih dari sekali di dalam satu cuitan. Pengulangan mam ini muncul sebanyak 14 kali di dalam seluruh cuitan Edgar Skid. Hal ini menunjukkan adanya repetisi atau pengulangan kata mam yang digunakan. Oleh karena itu, kemunculan kata mam sebanyak 14 kali ini menjadi sebuah tanda bahwa penulis membuat cuitan saat sedang makan yang dilontarkannya kepada pembaca, yang menjadi salah satu hal yang dapat membuatnya dapat berinteraksi dengan pengikutnya di Twitter. Kemudian foregrounding tanda baca. Jangan lupa mam, siang sama cowokmu yang kurang banget itu, koma-koma. Penggunaan koma yang ditulis sebanyak 2 kali ini tidak berterima penggunaannya dalam kaidah bahasa Indonesia, karena yang kita ketahui penggunaan tanda koma hanya 1 kali. Di dalam cuitan ini pula tanda koma ditulis di akhir kalimat pernyataan, padahal yang kita tahu juga kalimat tanda untuk mengakhiri kalimat pernyataan digunakan tanda titik. Penggunaan tanda koma ini pasti memiliki maksud dan tujuan, yaitu berfungsi adanya nilai estetis pada isi cuitan, sehingga mengurangi efek monoton yang terkesan kaku jika mengakhirinya dengan tanda baca titik. Kemudian faktor penyebab deviasi dan foregrounding. Terdapat 4 bentuk faktor penyebab deviasi dan foregrounding. Yang pertama, faktor sosial psikologis. Penggunaan istilah asing seperti sebelumnya di cuitan-cuitan sebelumnya, banyak sekali cuitan Kerskit yang menggunakan istilah bahasa asing. Penggunaan istilah bahasa asing ini menimbulkan nilai estetis yang menyamarkan bentuk monoton cuitan dengan menambahkan kata, frasa, dan kalimat ke dalam bahasa asing. Para pengguna Twitter lainnya juga menganggap jika penggunaan kata bahasa asing ini lebih gaul dan lebih keren dibandingkan dengan bahasa-bahasa yang lain. Kemudian faktor teknologi komunikasi dan informasi. Faktor yang ketiga ini, Twitter merupakan wadah tempat penulis menyalurkan isi pikiran melalui cuitan yang dibuatnya. Siapapun dapat melihat dan menikmati isi cuitan penulis yang unik selama memiliki gawai dan internet. Penyebaran penggunaan bahasa cuitan Etkerskit yang menyimpang sudah tentu akibat banyaknya pengguna Twitter lain yang membicarakan serta mengirimkan ulang cuitan tersebut ke berbagai media sosial selain Twitter. Bentuk cuitan Etkerskit yang berupa tulisan juga memudahkan siapa saja dapat membacanya. Sehingga teknologi komunikasi dan informasi yang semakin berkembang memberi pengaruh besar terhadap kesuksesan isi cuitan Etkerskit di Twitter. Kemudian faktor keinginan. Dalam media sosial Twitter ini banyak dijumpai berbagai macam cara untuk menarik minat para pembaca. Salah satu faktor penyebab terjadinya deviasi dan foregrounding ini karena keinginan penulis yang ingin beda dari yang lain daripada pengguna Twitter lain, sehingga menjadi faktor penyebabnya. Perbedaan ini juga menimbulkan nilai estetis tersendiri sehingga pembaca terfokus terhadap isi cuitannya. Kemudian faktor anutan berbahasa. Jika di faktor penyebab cuitan Kerskit, maksud saya faktor anutan berbahasa, teori ini tidak relevan dengan apa yang terjadi di lapangan karena cuitan Etkerskit menjadi penggerak dalam penyimpangan bentuk penggunaan kurung siku yang digunakan dalam setiap cuitannya. Bentuk foregrounding kurung siku ini cukup menarik perhatian pembaca sehingga menjadikan kurung siku salah satu karyanya, seperti itu. Kemudian penutup, cuitan Kerskit berfungsi emotif menggambarkan suasana hati, ide dan pikirannya sendiri. Pengedepanan unsur deviasi, akar hubungan antara deviasi dan foregrounding. Foregrounding dalam cuitan Etkerskit ada dua, yaitu bahasa dan tanda baca. Foregrounding tanda baca ini merupakan temuan baru di dalam penelitian ini karena foregrounding yang ditemukan selain dari sistem bahasa. Kemudian foregrounding kata aku menunjukkan pula eksistensi penulis. Penulis menonjolkan dirinya lewat cuitan yang dibuatnya. Kemudian yang terakhir, penggunaan kurung siku sebagai deviasi grafologis yang mengalami foregrounding tanda baca diakibatkan faktor keinginan untuk berbeda dari pengguna Twitter lain. Berikut daftar pustaka yang saya gunakan. Sekian presentasi dari saya. Mohon maaf bila ada salah kata. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Oke, baik. Terima kasih untuk Ibu Andi Tenri telah melakukan presentasi pada hari ini. Wah, kita lihat hari ini tiga-tiganya dan di sesi kedua, satu orang di sesi pertama tadi penelitiannya memang sangat menarik dan juga sangat cerdas, bisa memikirkan hal-hal seperti itu. Baik, silakan bagi Ibu atau Bapak yang ingin bertanya.
Oke,
Pengen
Pak
berikan
Mubarok,
masukan.
saya mau bertanya, Pak.
Oh ya, silakan Bapak Aris Utomo.
Oke, thank you, Pak Mubarok. Oke, I have one questions to Atika Elvanur Rahma, ya, Mbak Atika. Mbak Atika, I have questions relating about your object research, ya, research objects in final presidential debate of USA. Yeah. Can you
Yes.
explain to me why did you choose the debates as your research objects? What about in Indonesian presidential debate? Is it different or not interesting for you?
It's not interesting, but first it's because the object have to be in English, so I choose the presidential election. However, and also my advisors also advise me to observe, to analyze an object that is more relevant to the issue nowadays, which involves the COVID-19. So that is why my object is the presidential debate about the COVID-19.
Did you get difficulties to analyze the debate transcription?
Yes.
What kinds of difficulties could you explain to me, maybe, in order to make new additional for me?
As for the data itself, it is not that much. There isn't much of difficulties. However, the implementation of the theories itself is very complicated because many of the previous research that I use as the reference, implement it in a different way from each other. So that is why I think the difficulty that I face is the how it really differs from each to each case in the many research studies.
Okay, thank you for your explanation, Mbak Atika. Good luck.
Thank you.
And is it allowed to be to ask lagi, Pak Mubarok?
Ya, bisa Pak.
Okay, my second questions to Mas Denny Ilham. Mas Denny Ilham, I have one questions relating about your presentations, yeah. Deadpool, yeah. Deadpool, yeah. Actually, this is one of my favorite movie, yeah. Movie to see, yeah. My question is, yeah, why did you choose Deadpool 2 movie for your research? What makes different with the previous ones? Deadpool 1, is there no any swear words that you find, or maybe another reasons why did you choose this movie in Deadpool 2?
Saya menganalisis Deadpool 2 ini karena pertama saya cari di Deadpool 1, yang Deadpool 1 itu ada yang sudah meneliti, Pak. Itu untuk kata-kata tabu dan swear words. Nah, jadi saya memilih Deadpool 2 movie ini karena bukan masih jarang, ada yang meneliti, namun mereka itu di banyak karakter, Pak. Nah, sedangkan saya meneliti khusus ke karakter Deadpool saja. Jadi seperti itu, Pak.
Okay, thank you for your explanation, Denny. Good luck.
Thank you.
Iya, silakan.
Oke, saya mau bertanya Pak Barok.
Ya, silakan Pak Bayu.
Ya, saya mau bertanya pada Andi Tenri. Andi Tenri. Ya, terkait dengan deviasi ya tadi ya. Nah, Andi Tenri, dalam penelitian Anda ya, ini basic saja ya. Biasanya kan kalau berbicara terkait dengan deviasi itu yang dibahas biasanya pada bentuk puisi ya. Nah, kenapa Andi Tenri memilih untuk mengkaji deviasi pada Twitter, cuitan tweet?
Terima kasih Pak. Jadi pemilihan Skit ini sebagai objek karena di dalam cuitannya itu memiliki unsur-unsur yang sesuai dengan deviasi dan foregrounding. Jadi tidak hanya berlaku pada puisi dan cerpen saja, tetapi di dalam cuitannya juga terkandung unsur-unsur yang memenuhi syarat untuk bisa diteliti menggunakan deviasi dan foregrounding, seperti itu Pak.
Baik, bagaimana Pak Bayu?
Oke, baik Andi. Saya mau tanya lagi tuh.
Iya Pak.
Tadi kan pada tweet yang kamu ambil, tweet dari apa? Tweet dari mana Andi? Nama tweetnya?
Kenapa Pak? Kurang
Nama
terdengar.
tweetnya?
Nama Twitternya @kerskit.
Oke, at first kit ya. Nah, dari bentuk-bentuk deviasi tadi, menurut Andi, yang paling menunjukkan kekhasan bentuk deviasi tadi apa, Andi?
Pada bentuk deviasi fonologis, Pak. Jadi penyimpangan-penyimpangan bahasa yang terjadi itu banyak terjadi pada fonem-fonem. Seperti mam tadi, mam itu kan harus yang kita ketahui pada kata makan, tetapi ia menggunakan kata mam, walaupun, yang padahal yang kita tahu walaupun, tapi di dalam cuitannya banyak penyimpangan-penyimpangan di dalam bentuk fonemnya, Pak. Pergantian fonem, penambahan fonem, seperti itu.
Oke, baik, itu saja. Terima kasih, Andi.
Ya, sama-sama Bapak. Terima kasih.
Oke, terima kasih Bapak Bayu Aji Nugroho. Mohon maaf pesan penyebutan. Selanjutnya, apa ada lagi yang ingin bertanya dari presenter, dari peserta di luar jaringan? Ibu Meidi mungkin ada bertanya. Oke, sepertinya tidak ada lagi yang ingin bertanya. Oke, baik. Oke, baik. Dari peserta lain, apa ada lagi? Oke. Oke, baik. Jika tidak ada lagi pertanyaan, maka sesi kedua ini, karena waktunya juga sudah mendekati waktu berakhir di sesi kedua, terima kasih kepada seluruh presenter yang telah berhadir pada hari ini. Semoga bisa masuk lagi nanti di sesi ketiga di ruang Zoom yang lain. Terima kasih, mohon maaf apabila ada kesalahan. Selamat bertemu lagi di paralel ketiga di ruang Zoom yang berbeda. Terima kasih Bapak Ibu. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.